welcome back, YouTube fans. Today, log splitters. This log splitter has been sitting for 2 or 3 years. We need to get it fired back up so we can get some work done with it. But there is a little bit of a checklist of things that need to happen so that way we can fire it up without any problems and then just check some stuff. Basically, we're checking oils, checking fluids, blowing things off, checking air breathers. We're going to make sure there's no rat's nest in there or anything like that. So let's drop her right here and get started. So the first step, we're going to uncover it. Now look at the tarp. It's all faded, but that's fine. The log splitter is not faded. I'd much rather buy a tarp, have that fade, than actually have the log splitter fade. So that keeps the log splitter looking good. Now, I know it's a little dirty on the motor, but it ain't nothing that you can't wipe off and blow off and get cleaned up. So the next step is we're just going to blow everything off. We're going to blow all the cobwebs out. We're going to get all in the nooks and crannies so that way it's nice and clean down inside there. The best we can anyways. So the next step is we need to take this cover off. This is for the air filter, and you want to check in there. You want to make sure there's no nest in there because, you know, little animals will get in there and make a big nest sometimes and cause a lot of damage. So, yeah, it doesn't look bad. Doesn't look like there's any nest in there. And then it's always a good idea to take these off and blow them out, clean them up and everything. Actually, I should blow it all off with it on there so that way I don't get nothing down in the car, but I didn't do it on this one, but that's okay. I kind of angle it a little bit so that way it doesn't blow down in the car. But the very next step, is I'll point it away from the motor and I'll blow all this stuff off there to get all that crap off the filter itself. And then I'm inspecting the filter for any rips or, cracks or anything like that. Filter doesn't look too bad. It's a little dirty, but not bad. Then you can tell here, I kind of just lightly blow just a little bit here, a little bit there, but not getting it down in the carb. And then once you got everything blowed off, then you can put it all back together. And it's a good idea to put it all back together, take it back apart every once in a while so that way the nuts don't get stripped to the bolts because they can get rusted and then they don't want to come off. All right, next step, take the fuel cap off and we're going to look down inside there. All right, we got to grab this thing out of here now. All right, so that gas has been in there for a while. So we're going to siphon that out of there just so we got fresh gas to start off with. Now there's a lot of different ways to siphon fuel out of a tank. So what I use is I got that hose there that's hooked to a turkey baster. So I went and I bought a small turkey baster and it's very cheap. And I hook a little hose to it and I can, suck all that fluid right out of there. And as you can tell, it'll do a good job. It takes just a little bit, but not too long. And I can empty all that fluid out in no time. All right, and then the next step, once you get all that fluid out of there, I wipe the top down and clean it up. And then, if you look there, those little tabs there, you got to put that filter back in there. And that'll keep dirt from getting in your tank when you're refueling it back up. Because it does happen. You don't try to make it happen, but sometimes, man, it just happens. So those are important to keep in the tank. And then as you can tell, you can pull them right back out, clean them off, put them right back in, and they work just fine. Just got to get those tabs lined up. And then obviously the next step is just to put some fuel in it. Make sure you got good, clean fuel. Make sure there ain't no water in it. So get her filled up with fuel and that part's done. All right, so the next step is the hydraulic fluid. We want to make sure it's got good hydraulic fluid and there's enough hydraulic fluid in there. So there's where it's located right there. You just unscrew that, you wipe it off with a rag, and then you screw it back in there and then screw it back out and look, and it's got to be between the two lines. And it's very important to make sure you have enough hydraulic fluid in there so you do not burn up your pump. Nothing. Nothing on the dipstick. I see some down in there. So if you look in there, yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see there's some down in there, but nothing on the dipstick. So let's add a little bit more. Yep, you can see it dripping. It's about halfway on the stick now. You probably can't see it from there, but it is. So I did check the oil in the motor and it was good. It's got a dipstick on both sides. So I did check that. Everything is good there and it doesn't look burnt or anything or smell funky. So all right, the next step is we are going to cycle the fuel switch on and off. That's the valve that shuts off the fuel, and then there's the choke. And then we're just going to give it a little bit of throttle. But I want to just cycle the motor a little bit, get the piston working up and down, make sure I feel for anything, make sure nothing's kind of catching or anything, and just give it a little bit of a cycle up and down and see how smooth it is. And it's pretty smooth. So, all right, the next step is the kill switch. So now we are going to turn it to the on position and we are going to roll it over. We're going to check it out and see if she starts. Here we go. All right, well, we're cranking and cranking and we're not getting anywhere. So if this problem happens to you, it's not a big deal. I have a trick for you. You just pull the carburetor filter off and you put a little bit of fuel in. Make sure it's clean, nice and clean fuel. So you put a little bit of fuel down in there and then we're going to crank it over. My prediction, 1 or 2 pulls and it'll start right up. Well, there we go. Perfect. She fired up on the very first pull. That's awesome. All right, so now we're going to put the filter back on and screw it back on. Now you want to keep it at an idle. Don't over rev it right away. It hasn't been ran in a few years, 3-4 years, maybe even, I'm not quite sure. But just let it run for a little bit. I got the choke on a little bit, playing with that a little bit, but just let it run at an idle. Don't over rev it right away. Let it kind of get broke back in just a little bit, get some fluid up in there, get the oil moving around, and then you're going to look for things. You're going to smell for stuff. You're going to see if anything's burning, see if anything's like smoking or anything, and check everything out. And then once you do that, then you can rev it up just a little bit more. And then once you rev it up a little bit more, now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to test the hydraulics on it. We're going to just run the levers, run the actuator, and we're going to make sure that everything is working properly. Oh yeah. All the way. Yep, this seems to be working. Now what's nice about this log splitter is it has an automatic retract. So when you're going forward like it is now, you have to hold it the whole time. But if you want it to come back, you just pull the lever all the way back, let go, and then you can tell, boom, the lever triggers. So as soon as it comes all the way back, it'll trigger off and shut off. And that is nice because not all log splitters have that. Very nice. All right, perfect. And she idles right down, so yeah, I'm happy about that. All right, well, let's get to work then.